Welcome to the SVG-TV Evening News and Sports for Friday, January 31st. I'm Khalil Kato, and here are your details. 1 million EC dollars has been raised by the homeowners and guests on the Grenadine island of Mustique and donated to the government and people of SVG. Speaking at the handing over ceremony earlier today at Cabinet Room, Managing Director of the Mustique Company and the Mustique Charitable Trust, Roger Pritchard, said that the trust was established in 2008 and has already raised some $6 million. Pritchard added that among the contributors to the $1 million donation for the relief efforts here was the government of the United Kingdom through its Minister of State for International Development, Alan Duncan, who gave $500,000.
And we did experience a very severe storm that night ourselves, and when the news filtered back from St Vincent about the extent of the damage in St Vincent, there was an immediate rallying cry to help. And obviously we have a lot of Vincentians working on Mustique, and a lot of their families were affected. So this was first-hand news, real news to real people, and I'm pleased to say the response was almost immediate. Because those people were there, I think that really helped. This money of 1 million EC dollars was raised solely by homeowners and guests who were on the island and friends of Mustique. And one of our homeowners' sons actually swam on the 29th of December from Bequia to Mustique, across a very rough channel there in rather bad weather conditions, and he alone raised 75,000 EC dollars just doing that one event. But that's the sort of instantaneous reaction we had.
A thankful Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves outlined that the Mustique Charitable Trust can be viewed as the most active charitable trust in the Eastern Caribbean.
They're going to give us symbolically by presenting us with one of these symbolic checks of 1 million Eastern Caribbean dollars to apply to a number of programs, a number of projects. And they're working with the Minister of Works and other state entities.
And Administrator at the Trust, Lavinia Gunn, outlined her organization's commitment to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Gunn said that they have had a first-hand view of the devastation caused by the 2013 Christmas Eve trough system and were moved to help the affected.
Stephen Joachim and myself last week went down with the Minister of Transport and Works to some of the communities on the Leeward coast, and indeed the scenes of devastation are quite unbelievable. And as has been said, this is not going to be a quick fix. We're going to be working very closely with the relevant ministries, including NEMO, to identify suitable projects, some of which will be in keeping with our focus of helping children, young people, challenged teenagers, and also to help build or rebuild some sustainable communities among those areas where all this damage took place.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has responded to a request made by the President of the Dominican Republic, Danilo Medina, to keep out of that country's affairs. Medina's request was made as he gave his speech at the recently concluded second summit of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, held in Havana, Cuba. The comments stemmed from Prime Minister Gonsalves' letter to the Dominican President on a controversial constitutional court ruling that could render thousands of persons of Haitian descent stateless. We get more in this report from Zuleika Lewis.
I'm speaking out on an international and regional issue. And I happen to think the bulk of the Caribbean and the bulk of decent people the world over, they agree with the position of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says he will not keep quiet or be afraid to pronounce that the decision made by a constitutional court in the Dominican Republic is wrong and unacceptable. The Prime Minister's comments come days after media reports in the Dominican Republic highlighted a strong warning sent by the President Danilo Medina to Prime Minister Gonsalves that he had gone too far in meddling in the country's affairs. Last year, Prime Minister Gonsalves wrote to the Dominican President indicating that a court's decision on September 23rd was unacceptable in any civilized community, as it effectively revoked citizenship to some 250,000 persons of Haitian descent born in the Dominican Republic. Following the letter, Prime Minister Gonsalves also called for the DR to be suspended from Petrocarib and a block from CARIFORUM. In his address at the second summit of Latin American and Caribbean Community, CILAC, in Havana, Cuba, the DR's president spoke out against accusation that the country was guilty of racism, discrimination, and violating human rights.
Not saying that the ruling is racist, but it has that appearance. And there have been a misuse and abuse of the law to take away or deprive people of fundamental rights, retroactively going back to 1929.
Several of the newspapers capitalized on the president's speech, with many headlines highlighting Medina's call on the PM not to infringe on the sovereignty of the Dominican Republic. Responding to Medina's comment, Prime Minister Gonsalves told SVG-TV News that he believes that the president responded in a historical manner at the summit and in most cases did not address the questions he raised. Prime Minister Gonsalves said Medina's claim that the issue is internal is not so.
It's a matter of sovereignty. Obviously, this is not an internal matter. This is a matter which is governed by a set of international norms. It's covered by international law, and it's a regional and international issue.
Prime Minister Gonsalves, who has led the way on behalf of the 15 member states of CARICOM in condemning the ruling of the court, urged the Dominican Republic president to confront the issue at hand for a better way forward.
And until the government in the Dominican Republic confronts that issue, that fundamental human rights issue, all we're hearing from them is bombast. And they will not, truthfully speaking, be able to hold their heads above being a pariah in regional international affairs.
A video posted on YouTube of Prime Minister Gonsalves' arrival at the summit received harsh criticisms from many in Spanish, many asking Prime Minister Gonsalves to keep out of the affairs of the Dominican Republic. For SVG-TV News, I am Zuleika Lewis.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Camilo Gonsalves today chaired the 33rd meeting of the Community Council of Ministers in Guyana. On the agenda was the free movement and contingent rights of CARICOM citizens. Another major item on the agenda is the 25th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of State and Government, which will take place here. In his address to the gathering, Gonsalves says given that 2014 marks the International Year of Small Island Developing States, the Council shall attempt to coordinate strategies, harmonize voices and priorities to ensure that the unique perspectives, characteristics and needs of small island developing states receive the appropriate attention from the wider international community. VNLEC to cushion fuel surcharge burden for its customers. More local stories when the SVG-TV Evening News continues. Welcome back. Customers of the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited VNLEC will not feel the impact on their fuel surcharge rate due to the absence of the hydro plants here, which were damaged by the Christmas Eve trough system. At a media conference yesterday afternoon, Chief Executive Officer of VNLEC Thornley Myers said that the company will cushion any additional costs incurred due to the absence of the plants, which he says were still not fully operational. This comes just a week after the company announced that its customers will see an increase on their fuel surcharge in the upcoming months. Many Vincentians expressed dissatisfaction with the news. Now the company's CEO says VNLEC will ensure that customers do not feel the impact of the increase in the fuel surcharge.
So what the company is going to do, the company is going to say, based on the average price of fuel in last year, the company is going to say, as a result of not having the hydro plants, how much more the fuel surcharge is increasing. In other words, if with the hydro plants, the fuel surcharge will be 55 cents, but without the hydro plants, the fuel surcharge is 65 cents, VNLEC would absorb the 10 cents.
Myers, however, explained that the fuel surcharge will change because the price of fuel changes from month to month.
One has to be careful to say, all right, we'll expect the fuel surcharge to be fixed. No, it can't be fixed because from month to month we generate different amount of electricity. The price of fuel also changes from month to month, And therefore, if the price of fuel changes from month to month, and the amount of electricity we generate from month to month changes, then the cost of fuel will change, and the fuel surcharge will change. But that change would not be as a result of not having the hydro facilities available to us to generate electricity.
Meantime, Myers says VINLEC knows its role in nation building, and as a good corporate entity, the company always seeks to alleviate the pain and suffering of its customers.
But clearly, there are several issues which persons, especially in the affected communities, have to grapple with on a day-to-day basis. And the rest of the society has come together to assist and to help persons in those communities. We are, with this, coming to the assistance and also coming to the assistance of the nation, because this is a society in which we do business. This is a society that will, if the society thrive, we will thrive. If the society do well, we will do well.
Approximately 7,000 children on both ends of the country will receive gift boxes under the auspices of the Samaritan's Purse Discipleship Program, an international relief organization. Speaking to SVG-TV News, Logistics Coordinator Pastor Paul Duncan outlined the age groups of the children who will receive the gift boxes from next week through the evangelical churches.
The 2 to 4, which we call the preschool age, the 5 to 9, which is the primary school, or some would say it is the junior level stage, and the 10 to 14, those who are the older juniors in secondary schools. This year alone, which is the largest distribution across the world, they are distributing over 10 million gift boxes.
Meanwhile, Apostle Samuel Young, National Coordinator of Operations Christmas Child SVG, spoke of the second phase of the program, which is expected to come on stream before year-end.
The second part to this distribution is that these boxes are called Go Box. Go in the sense not in going somewhere, but gospel opportunities. And we recognize that at the time of disaster, humans' heart are more inclined readily to receive divine help.
And Pastor Duncan expressed gratitude to the government for helping to make the distribution of the items possible.
To say thanks very much to the Ministry of Finance for basically giving us the waiver to clear the boxes, and for all the other organizations from the government who has helped. We are looking to have the churches to collect the boxes by next week. So we are looking at next weekend, beginning February the 8th, for the churches across St. Vincent. As a matter of fact, over 50 churches in this first phase will be distributing boxes come next weekend. That is important policy of the organization, to get the church involved and so on. So because we want to reach these children, and not only to let them know that it is about a gift box, but also to let them know that Jesus cares about them.